Hello, my name is Maurice Washington. I want to welcome everybody to another episode of Executive Talk, those that are here live in our studio audience and also those that are viewing live. In today's show, we're going to talk about how to remodel your kitchen and bath. Now, obviously, this is not my area of expertise, so what we did is we welcome Bob Shanks, owner and operator of the Showroom of Denver here with us today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and welcome Mr. Bob Shanks.
Nice to be here.
Thank you so much for taking your time out of your busy schedule to talk about this topic.
Sure.
Obviously, as everybody knows, in the real estate market right now, there's a lot of movement. Okay, there's a lot of transactions, a lot of people moving into Colorado, a lot of people moving, outside of their home, and so on and so forth. But one thing that's consistent within the real estate industry is the remodeling. You know, everybody's always thinking about remodeling. I have a friend right now who just moved into a home, and the first thing they did is, I can't wait to remodel my kitchen and bath. So why are these two areas of the house the first to be remodeled?
Well, when it comes to kitchen and bath, those are the primary areas everybody likes to remodel, because you spend a lot of time in your kitchen, and you want it to feel comfortable and feel expressive of yourself.
Okay.
That's where you will entertain most of your guests, either in your kitchen or out on the patio.
Gotcha.
So when they walk in, you want them to feel comfortable and to feel that it is you, that it represents you, that it's a part of you.
Gotcha.
And so that's why people will go through great lengths to make sure their kitchen is exactly them. And then in the restroom area, bathroom, you spend a lot of time in there too. You don't realize it, but that's the first place you go usually in the morning and the last place you go at night.
Very true.
You know, and you want to be comfortable in there yourself. I mean, you're not going to really have people in there per se, but you still want to be comfortable. You don't want to be sitting in there looking at broken things, green, ugly walls from the 60s, and you want your time in there to be comfortable.
Gotcha.
And that's why those are usually the two quickest things everybody likes to remodel, because they want to be able to express themselves, feel at home, let their guests feel at home, and just be comfortable themselves.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense. And a lot of this area is, people are fairly savvy. They've seen a lot of people move into their home and make some changes, and what they've noticed as well is that the value of their home is increased because they made this particular change. So does the value increase the value, or does this particular move increase the value of their home?
Well, it can, but you got to do it right. You don't want to spend $100,000 on your remodel when your house is only worth $200,000.
I gotcha.
Because
Okay.
you're not going to get a whole another $100,000 out of it if you're not in the right area type thing. There's a lot of things that go into that, but that's where you really should talk to a real estate agent to find out what the true value of your home is and how much you should spend or could spend to make it worth its value.
Sure.
And not overdo it or underdo it to where it might hurt your value.
Gotcha. All right, and for the studio audience and also those that are watching, we've invited a real estate agent, so she's going to actually talk to us a little bit later on. Well, let's go ahead and go into a little bit further about the kitchen remodel. So for you, there is a list, and you have a 3-page list of things that people should go through, and it's a checklist of things that people need to really pay attention through when you go through this whole remodel change. And specifically, you named 2 specific areas that I think a lot of people probably skip over, and one of those areas is changing the stop valves. Why is that such a intricate area?
Well, if you've already got your kitchen tore apart, you really should change your stop valves because they have a tendency to go bad over time. The more that you turn them on and off, it wears out the seals, the water will wear out the seals, and eventually they just will not shut off. So if you have an issue and have to shut off your valves, they won't shut off.
Gotcha.
And for a $10, $12 part, $15 at most, depending on where you go to get it, to change those parts, it's common sense.
Sure.
Why take that chance of it going bad in the middle of a disaster, and your disaster is way worse than what it was supposed to be?
Right, and they cost you thousands.
It'll cost you thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with the water supply lines.
Okay.
They got great water supply lines out there. They even got ones that if the water supply line bursts, it'll stop the water immediately.
Gotcha.
And it's worth the investment because you're putting it. If you're remodeling your kitchen and you're putting whether it's $10,000 into it or $50,000 into it, you don't want to do it again.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's already stressful, and expensive.
Sure.
And same with your P-traps.
Okay.
Change them out because they will go bad, or they get clogged up, or the seals go bad. It's so inexpensive to do, and will save you thousands down the road.
Gotcha. And this one right here, outlets and switches, you know, I know for me specifically, when I think about outlets and switches, I think about as long as I plug it in, as long as it works, I'm good. I don't really think about the long-term effect of the, you know, outlets and switches, which I'm sure a lot of people don't.
No, a lot of people don't. I mean, that's another area that, you know, if you don't really know much about it, you don't think about it. But you can keep plugging into that outlet, keep plugging and plugging and plugging, or eventually inside the circuits will go bad, and inside, and you won't see it. They loosen up, and then it gets a little bit less contact, and it'll create a jump across there sometimes, and
Okay.
it'll slowly wear out your whatever device you're plugging into.
Okay.
It'll decrease its lifespan.
Gotcha.
And if it gets bad enough, it'll create a spark that'll cause a fire. And
Gotcha.
so if you're in there, again, you've already got stuff opened up, your cabinets are gone, you change out your outlets or your GFIs, and for the little cost it is, you can get a switches and outlets themselves for like 50 cents or less
Gotcha.
each. GFIs, you can get like a 3-pack for 20, 30 bucks.
Gotcha.
Change it, save yourself thousands in the long run.
Gotcha. Okay.
So.
Fair enough. Now, this area that's very common. If you've, like anybody else, has watched the news, Channel 9 News, you've always seen the report of the contractor who came in, did half the job, and took off. You know, we've heard those horror stories before.
Yes.
Okay, and you had the Yelp reviews and so on and so forth. So for a lot of people, they want to change their, you know, their kitchen and bath, but they're afraid of that contractor. So here's a couple of items that you think are the most important ones. He says, does the contractor have workman's comp? Are they licensed? So those are two main areas you feel.
All right, so those are two areas that you definitely need to check with your contractor.
Okay.
Because if they have hourly employees, they need to have workman's compensation on them. Because if they get hurt, it covers them. If they get paid, they can't go sue anybody. Unless it's negligence from the contractor himself, then he can go after the contractor. If he doesn't have that, then they're going to sue somebody. If they're hurt bad enough, they're going to find somebody to sue, and you definitely don't want it to be you.
Got it. Okay.
Because you're doing everything right. You're paying out a bunch of money already. Your contractor needs to make sure that you're covered.
Gotcha. Because or else the homeowner, their insurance is on the line, right?
Their insurance could be on the line,
Okay.
Or they could be out of pocket. If their insurance won't cover it, then they're out of pocket.
Okay.
In which case, there's a whole misload of
Yeah.
legal things that can happen if somebody gets hurt on their property.
Got it.
And if they're not, and if the contractor's not covering the proper insurance on their people, it could be a disaster. It could cost you, again, thousands of dollars.
And you know, with the average homeowner and the consumer, I don't think I'm sure inside of them they want to ask the question, but does it seem to be kind of rude to ask a contractor, hey, do you have your workman's comp? Is that kind of what the holdup is, or the reason why homeowners don't ask?
Some of them, yeah, they don't ask just because it's an uncomfortable situation.
Okay.
But if you're interviewing the right contractor, it won't be uncomfortable. But you need to ask these questions to the contractor, because if you don't and you have no idea what he's doing as far as covering himself, his employees, or your house, it will damage you. It
Yeah.
will damage your house. If he's not licensed, oh my God,
It's horrible.
you're paying him to do a job and then have to pay to fix it again. All
Gotcha.
right, and might even have to completely rip it all out.
Gotcha.
Because in Colorado, you have to do state licensing to become a general contractor, and you got to carry liability insurance, and that any damage that he causes, his liability insurance will cover.
No cover.
That's
Okay.
why it's the law. He has to have it.
Gotcha. All right.
And if you don't check and make sure he has it, you're opening up a whole possibility of bad things.
Gotcha. Okay. So can a consumer go ahead and look it up and just make sure for their peace of mind?
Yes, pretty much most areas, whether it's in the city or the county, they
Sure.
have a website that you can look it up. Like in Denver, has a website that you look up contractor lookup, and it'll tell you all about the contractor, whether they're licensed, if they've got their insurance, how long they've been in business, when their renewal is up. You can find all kinds of information.
All the details.
Through the contractor lookup.
Okay.
And business license lookup.
Gotcha. And this is another area when we talk about making that transition. So once you find your contractor, one of the things consumers like to do is quality of cabinets. When you go out there looking to make this type of change, because I guess my mind, the way that it works is I look at my budget, I look at Home Depot or Lowe's, whoever has the best price. I go to Home Depot or Lowe's, and what I do is I look at aesthetically, okay, this one looks good and it fits my budget, so that's the one I choose. And then I purchase it and I'm okay with it. Now, is that a good way of doing business, or is as a consumer, or what are some of the common mistakes?
Well, it is a common mistake because you really, just looking at it aesthetically, you're not sure what it's made out of, the construction of the boxes, whether it's MDF or real plywood, or just looking at it in that aspect and just picking it on being the cheapest of cheap, you're not going to be happy in the long run. At some point, it will possibly fall apart on you.
I see.
And you really need to do your homework on this because you're investing a lot of money into your home, and you don't want it to be a waste of money.
Sure. I think, what's funny is that I have a friend who actually just recently went to go shop for cabinets. This is their statement to me. Maurice, I'm only going to be in this home for about 15 years. So whatever I purchase, I should be just fine. Is that a common mistake?
It is, because we all have our goals in life, and we'll start out, okay, we're going to do this at 5 years, this at 10 years, and so forth.
Sure.
And the reality of it is plans are great, but you have to be flexible because they change.
Sure.
Right now, if you're thinking you're going to move in 10 years, but you got little kids, well, in 10 years, they're going to be graduating, going to college. You might not be able to afford to move in 10 years.
Yeah.
You might have to wait 15 years, unless they're really smart, maybe another 10. Depending, if they're going to be doctors and lawyers.
That's right.
And so you got to really think that, okay, you're planning on 10 years, but realistically it could be 15 or 20. And so if you're going to spend $20,000 right now and think you're going to get out in 10 years, what if you don't get out? And then it's time for a remodel again. And then you're going to spend $30,000 on your kitchen.
Yeah.
When you could have spent $30,000 the first time, and it'll make you 20 years if you go with quality products. So
then just that little extra level of patience can save you over the long run.
It will, and common sense. Realize that, your plans are never set in stone.
Yeah.
I mean, you could change jobs. You could be out a job, period.
Sure.
Things happen. Unless you hit the lottery or get a job that pays you twice as much,
Right.
your 10-year plan
May
isn't
end up being
exactly 10
20,
years.
30, or a lifetime plan, right?
It could turn into a lifetime plan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So then with that being said, should you have a contractor help you find these cabinets? Because it seems to make the most sense, I'm assuming.
Well, as long as you found the right contractor.
Okay.
Once you find the right contractor, you'll know whether or not they're going to help you. Because if you find a contractor who just wants the quick buck, doesn't care what you're putting in there, he says, oh, I'll make it look good no matter what. He just wants that job to start, he wants to get his money and get the heck out of there and just move on.
I see.
They'll tell you, get anything, I'll make it work. Anything will work.
Sure.
Just get it.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of contractor you want.
Gotcha.
You want one that's going to actually go with you and show you, okay, this is what you're getting for what you're paying for. This is what you can get for a little bit more. This is what you can get for a little less, and kind of walk you through what types of products are out there, what type of, the dovetail drawers or wood cabinetry or MDF cabinetry.
Sure.
And same, it goes with all of it. Your countertops, everything. A good contractor will take the time and explain it to you and walk you through the process.
Gotcha. Now, we have a couple of illustrations for everybody here in our studio audience and those watching live of the long-term effect of choosing the wrong cabinet. So let's go ahead and start with this one.
Yes. Maurice, this is an MDF, what I call junk.
Okay.
It's sawdust, particle board, it's all kinds of things glued all together, highly compressed to get it to go together.
Okay.
All right, and I've taken this and a piece of plywood that roughly the same thickness.
Okay.
That both are from cabinets, and soaked them in water, 1 inch of water for a little over an hour,
Okay.
to show you what kind of damage can happen when you have a flood in your kitchen, and what can happen to your cabinets if you pick poorly. All right, so, and if you look close, you can see a difference from the bottom to up here. But let's go ahead, and we're gonna turn it sideways.
Okay.
Turn it here a little bit more. All right, and we're sitting right now at roughly 3/8 of an inch, maybe about a 64th over, almost. You come down here to the end, and we're at almost a 1/2 inch. And that's after 1 hour in water. It swelled almost 1/8 of an inch. That's a lot of swelling.
Yeah.
Imagine 2 floods, 3 floods. They happen, especially if you don't change your stop valves and water supply lines.
That's it, yeah.
Okay?
All right. So let's take a different
Now
illustration
we have one here.
All right.
This one's a bit beat up. This one's solid plywood. All right, so it's beat up a little bit more because it was put together better. That one I only hit with a hammer twice. This one a few more times because it didn't want to come apart. This is the end I stuck in water.
Okay.
You can't see anything really. I mean, and so we'll turn it again,
Okay.
and we'll set the micrometer on it. There, 3/8 of an inch.
Okay.
We're down here where the water was. Look at that, exactly 3/8 of an inch.
Okay.
1 hour of water.
So the
And
integrity.
there's not a whole lot more you can say about that. I mean, it shows for itself.
Gotcha.
Um,
And you said if there's a flood that happens, it takes about an hour for a plumber
yes,
to even get there.
unless you've got a plumber on speed dial or he has nothing else to do, which good luck with that. It'll take on average about an hour or longer for them to get to you.
Gotcha.
It's just the reality of it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the difference of that quality that everybody that Bob was talking about here recently. So one thing that we want to talk about is we have another subject matter expert with us today, and as we talked about earlier, we were talking about the increasing of value of doing a kitchen and bath remodel, and we've welcomed Dawn Fabizak with Private Label Realty to the show with us. So let's welcome her to the microphone. Thank you so much, Don, for showing up today and giving us this information. So just go ahead and take it away for a little bit here.
Thanks, Maurice. Thanks, Bob. How are you
Thank you.
today?
I'm doing
Good?
well.
Doing good.
How are you doing?
I'm doing terrific.
All right.
Thanks. Well, I've been in the business of selling real estate for just over 23 years, and I have found that the 2 rooms that sell a house are your bathrooms and your kitchens. And that is what people look for. And if your house it shows well, but those 2 rooms are dated, that really takes its toll on the buyers. They kind of have a second guess because now they've got to take into consideration what it's going to cost them to actually go ahead and remodel those rooms.
Gotcha.
So, and according to the National Association of Realtors, the average that a property will get on a return when they do a remodel will be about 67% for kitchens and about 70% for bathrooms.
Wow.
So it's a pretty good return on that dollar that they do go ahead and spend.
Gotcha.
You have 2 different types of kitchens when they get remodeled. You can look at a fix and flip where it's an investor that purchases a property and they're going to go ahead and get the biggest bang for the buck. Most times they're just going to be doing improvements on a kitchen, meaning they're going to replace the kitchen cabinets, put in a new countertop, maybe some flooring and appliances. They're not going to be doing anything other than taking out the old and putting in new.
Gotcha.
Okay? That's when you're going to look. Oh, it looks nice, but what's the quality like? As Bob had stated, what kind of cabinets did they put in there? They just want to get in and get out and flip it over. Then there's the other type where it's more of a renovation, where the cabinets came out and the whole layout is changed around. You can see that on some of the TV shows on cable, where on HGTV,
Yeah.
they do a whole renovation. And those, you can spend a lot of money. But either way you do it, you're still going to get about the same return per dollar. One interesting statistic that I did find is actually in 2015, out of all of the cities across the United States, Colorado has 3 of the top 10 cities as far as remodeling goes.
Wow.
Number 1 is Colorado Springs.
Okay.
Number 3 is Denver, and number 7 is Aurora. So we do look at those,
That's amazing.
and
is.
those are the 2 rooms that sell a house.
Okay.
So it's important to take a look at kitchens and bathrooms, and the other thing that Bob did talk about as well is we don't want to over improve.
Right.
Figure about 10 to 15% of the value of your house. That's all you want to spend on that remodeling project. If you're going over that, then maybe you may want to consider selling and moving to a different neighborhood, because you spend more than that, you're over improving. So a $300,000 house, you're looking at 10%, $30,000 to $45,000.
Got it.
Otherwise, you over improve and you're not going to get that money back.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
That's valuable.
Makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Don. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So Bob and Don, thank you so much for your information, Don. That was timely and it made a lot of sense, and definitely keyed in and put everything together in a real estate perspective. So thank you very much. And then Bob, you gave us a lot of valuable information as well. So what is your final thoughts? What do you want to leave everybody watching with?
Well, I just want to let people know that they really need to, from start to finish, do their homework on it. Pay attention to what they're looking at. If it's going to be a long-term stay in the house, then you really need to look at the quality. You really need good quality cabinets, countertops, fixtures, everything. And I know everybody's always going to have a budget in mind,
Sure.
and sometimes the cost is a little bit more than their budget. Once in a great while, it might be a little less, but not that often.
Sure.
But the key is, the way I look at it is, it's an investment in your home and your lifestyle, especially if you're going to be there for the so-called 10 years.
Right.
So then it's an investment in your lifestyle also.
Okay.
And you want to be able to enjoy it the entire time. And the way I see it, and I've said it to people, is if let's say your budget's $20,000, okay? And everything that you've picked out that you really, really love, it comes to $22,000. You just don't have it. Put it off for 3, 4, 5 months. Because if you don't, if you go back and skimp and go with something you don't really love,
Sure.
you will hate it. You will live there, and you will, every time you look at whatever it is you skimped on, you're going to be so upset with yourself. I shouldn't have done it. So take your time. Don't rush into it thinking you have to remodel this right now.
Gotcha.
Take your time. Get what you love, especially if it's a long-term stay in the house.
Sure.
I mean, if you're just selling it, it's not so much what you love.
Right.
But if you're staying there, you have to be comfortable. It has to flow with you. It's an expression of you, is what it is.
Yeah.
So make it right.
Make it right. Again, everybody, this is not my area of expertise, but one thing I do know specifically, and as a real estate agent, and also Bob here, he can definitely appreciate this, that this is one of the largest investments that you'll ever make, which is your home. This is the place that you're going to come to day in and day out regardless. So make a right decision. Think about it. This is aesthetically, emotionally, everything that you feel. Make sure your home is one of the most comfortable places for you. So based on that principle is where I'm coming from as far as my subject matter expertise on this particular topic. So thank you so much, Bob, for this information. Thank you, Don. You guys are wonderful. And I want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to follow up with Executive Talk here on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can definitely follow up on the show on YouTube as well. So without further ado, Bob and I, we actually have to get back to work. So you guys have a great day.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Maurice.
Appreciate you.
Thank you very much.